This show is brought to you by Databril, the scalable Amazon PPC management for large Amazon sellers and brands. Visit sellersessions.com/agency for more details. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we bring in Ben Leonard. How you doing, Ben?
Yep, really good, Danny. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Do you want to give the guys a little bit of background on yourself before we start?
Yeah, sure. I'm in the UK, selling on Amazon in the UK and Europe. I've been selling for about a year and a half now. Summer 2016 is when the business started, so all coming up for 2 years, really. Haven't got into the United States. It was more of a strategic thing there. I just thought, let's start at home where it's going to potentially be a bit easier. And it's just kind of grown arms and legs. I'm enjoying it. I've got about 9 or 10 SKUs now, launching many more, got 3 coming soon. So
excellent. So today's story is an interesting one. I'm going to let you unravel it all. But the top line of this story is that your stock went missing and it was sold off, wasn't it, via a courier, Amazon, etc. So there's a twist in the tale. So take me from the top here. Walk me through this whole process of what happened. An interesting story.
No worries. So in summer 2016, I launched a new product and everything was going fine. And I was actually heading out on my honeymoon when I got the notification that the product had been pulled by Amazon for a safety issue. And I thought to myself, how can there possibly be a safety issue with this? It's almost intrinsically safe. There's nothing that could possibly go wrong with this. So I emailed back to Amazon saying, thanks for letting me know about this. We take safety very seriously. It's something that we want to address. In order for us to address it, please can you provide us with a bit more detail about the safety issue? And after a little bit of back and forward of their usual copy and paste responses, they actually gave me the little quote from the customer, which they submitted either by some sort of complaint in their Amazon account. I don't know if it was an A to Z claim, not sure. And from what the customer said, I was able to work out that basically what they'd done is they hadn't followed the instructions properly and they'd broken the product. But even then, in its broken state, there was nothing unsafe about it. But you know how it is, Amazon seller support don't necessarily know what they're doing sometimes. So somebody sat behind a desk somewhere decided, oh, this is unsafe. We'll pull this product.
Cool. And what was your next steps there? What did you do? Obviously, the whole suspension, was it your first suspension?
Yeah. So that was the first suspension I've had on a product. The account's never been suspended, but I've had a couple of safety issues with products. All a bit dubious, to be honest, but all fixed. So my next step was I reached out on one of the Facebook groups, and some guy called Danny McMillan replied, and you gave me some advice, which was really demonstrate to Amazon that you're taking this seriously, and a good way to do that is to start by pulling all the products and doing a removal order, and that was a good idea because that did indeed demonstrate to them that we're taking it so seriously that we're actually removing everything from the warehouse.
Yeah.
And I put in a plan of action. So the plan of action said what happened, why it happened, and how it happened, and how we're going to stop it happening again. And I put this together, and it was accepted, which was great.
Was that on the first attempt, or did you have to go around the system?
I think it was the first attempt.
Excellent.
Yeah. Pretty sure it was the first attempt. So that was fine. Meanwhile, I was waiting for Amazon to send back all my stock, which was 600 odd units. And not very many of them arrived. I think about 10% arrived back with me. So time went on. I thought, where's my stock? So eventually there was a lot of back and forth, which took a long time. Finally getting escalated to
Captive.
Captive team in South Africa, actually. And I've always found the South African team to be really helpful.
Yeah, very good.
It's just difficult to, sometimes it takes ages to finally get through to them. So basically what happened was they admitted that they and their courier had lost the stock. and they reimbursed me. But of course, you don't get a full reimbursement of what you paid for the stock or even the retail value. It's just
Go on, tell me, how much did they lowball you by roughly?
oh, I can't remember even. It was an awful percentage, a fraction.
Yeah,
It's quite it makes you a bit sick, but what can we do?
yeah,
So that was that. I had to kind of take it on the chin and move on. So I'd almost forgotten about it when last month, so this is a year later, there was a hijacker on the listing.
yeah.
And I thought it was the usual Chinese kind of thing. So I sent off my cease and desist letter. I put in a case to Amazon to let them know about the situation. I did I even purchased all of their stock because I thought it would be the same as I've had with other products. It's actually, there is no stock. They're not even selling fakes. You just purchase, 99 units or whatever it is, and then you file an AZ claim and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But I got a message back from somebody in the UK saying, no, this is legitimate stock. And I had a bit of a back and forth email dialogue. I explained who I was. We're the brand owners. Only we are licensed to sell this product. Where did you get the product? Blah, blah, blah. And it turned out they had bought this at a lost in transit auction.
Right.
So you can see the cogs going round and me
Your
putting
head.
two and two together. Absolutely. Yeah. So basically what has happened is last year I pulled my stock out for the safety issue. Amazon and all their courier together lost my stock. It got sold off at this auction to this third party and they were now selling it. Now, there's a couple of problems here. First of all, is they're then selling my stock and undercutting me on my own listing.
Yeah.
But also that stock that they were selling was discontinued, and it was discontinued by me. I'm the brand owner. It's my product. I chose to discontinue it after the safety issue because that product contained old instructions. So part of my plan of action was that I updated the instructions to make them even more idiot-proof.
Yeah.
So I was then worried that people buying the old version would have issues. Maybe there'd be another safety complaint. Maybe I'd get bad reviews. Lots of potential negative impacts. So I was able eventually to tell this other seller, you can't sell this because it's got safety implications. And if you continue to sell it after a discontinued product, I'll go down the relevant lines of authority because this has got public safety implications. And that scared them off. I wouldn't be surprised if they're now selling it on eBay or if they're just about to start selling on eBay or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they tried to pull a fast one. They disappeared and then they came back a couple of days later and I had to get back in touch with them. But what really made me angry was the fact that, why didn't the brand name and the business name is all over the packaging? Why didn't the courier or Amazon or whoever, before they sold this on to transit, get in touch with me? The brand name's there, the website's there, there's email addresses on there. It was just really, really poor from them.
Yeah.
And also a little bit, I don't know, it depends where your moral compass is, but I think it was pretty dodgy for somebody who their business model is buy off stuff that's been lost. And then they're undercutting independent brands whose stock has been lost through no fault of their own. And I made that point to them and they kind of didn't really respond to that.
You know why? Because like you said, people have different business models. For someone on one side, you might see that as morally bankrupt, ambulance chase. But then on the flip side, someone might deem that as great business.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It goes down to the moral compass. I've never been into that end, buying end-of-line stock, but I have had suspensions before, and I've spoke to some of the greasy companies that buy up all your stock, and they completely lowball you. It's like, oh, you must come back today, or I won't offer you the 67 pence per unit plus you got to pay for delivery. And it's like, I tune out to that stuff. You work out, you do another workaround, so you wholesale to another account or whatever. But you can go down that route, but it's whether you get sucked in by the hard-nosed negotiation tactics. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing you a really big favor, but you must respond within 3 hours or.
Yeah.
So What I'm interested in what Amazon said in all this. Obviously, you just get the blank response in most
Amazon
cases.
said absolutely nothing. So I have a so-called account manager, which was basically just a carrot on a stick to make me join PannyU. And PannyU has been great for me, to be honest. But now my account manager is frankly useless.
Yeah,
They don't respond to my emails. They don't call when they say they will. And when we do have a call, which is once in a blue moon, they say, right, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then you don't hear anything about it. So I emailed them about it. I even emailed Jeff, the Jeff at Amazon.com thing.
yeah,
I've submitted cases asking if it should be escalated, explaining, and I laid it out. I made it so idiot proof, making all the connections. Here's the hijacker. Here's the emails showing that they said they bought this stock. Here's the cases from before when the stock was lost. Showed them everything, and I explained how this is such a serious issue because it's discontinued, unsafe stock which is being sold, and I heard back absolutely nothing. So now I've just let it go because the most important thing is that person has stopped selling on my listing, and for now they have.
yeah,
And I just don't. I've got much more important things to do in running my business than waste energy on cases that ultimately are just going to disappear into a black hole.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. And it brings us back to that issue, which has been discussed so many times on your show and elsewhere all over the net, is about, how do we get better support from Amazon, and is it even worth paying for? I don't think it's, what was it, 42 grand or something crazy?
Yeah. That's
Not worth that.
the SAM program. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you remember from that episode, I wasn't a big fan of it, but there
No.
are people out there that are. And
Yeah.
I did suggest, I think the SAM program could work really well if you got a direct line for an issue with suspensions. If you're a large business, that might be perfect for you in Q4 because even when you use a third-party suspension company, if you've got someone on the inside of Amazon and they realize this is basically a competitor trying to stop you in your tracks, and they're able to support you and get you up and running, that's when you spend that money. But what I would say is if you look at the general level of seller support in terms of quality and you benchmark off that, I would say look in-house first before you start to charge for the service. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Get that right first. Get that to what sellers deem as an acceptable level, not what Amazon deems as acceptable level, because they might think everything they're doing is fine. But how many sellers do you know go, I love seller support?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't. And I'm not saying that we should beat up individuals that seller support, but the general reaction from most people is they don't rate it. And they get frustrated and they get blocked and go into the right departments. The difficulty is when you've got millions of people selling on the platform, it's hard to scale that in the countries.
The thing is, occasionally you do get a gem. So the other day I had a really helpful guy, call me from India about a case, and I basically at the end of the case I just said, look, while I've got you on the phone, I really need help with this. It was Amazon were changing my product titles. And I couldn't get it fixed. Nobody in sales support was helping. And when I tried to update my titles myself, it wasn't working. And he was like, no problem. Reopen the case. Tell me what the ASINs are and I'll fix it. And he did, which was great. But then on the flip side, I'm now starting to get, whereas before it was mostly the support I was getting was from the Philippines and India, where, generally the English is very good. I'm now starting to get calls and emails from seller support agents in China. Yeah. I even had one the other day where they called me after I'd submitted a case and put my phone number in, and I answered the phone and they just started speaking at me in Mandarin. Yeah. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't speak Mandarin. And they said, well, I'm sorry, my English isn't very good. And I said, well, perhaps you could put this case to somebody who has better English, maybe in South Africa. They said, okay, I'll email you. And 2 minutes later, I got an email in Mandarin. I just deleted it. I just gave up.
Yeah. So where, just to wrap here on the show, where are you now with so the stock you had, say 600 or so units out there, didn't you? So you only got, say 60 to 100 units back because you said roughly 10% or so.
Yeah.
How many did this company manage to sell through on the listing roughly? I mean, how long were they hanging around for based on your own sales velocity?
I think they probably sold max 50 units.
Right. So these could still reappear. Because,
yeah, they could reappear. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, this might not stop here, and they might be sold on to someone else who then tries to list against your listing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll try and do the same thing, but
No, it's
cross that bridge
interesting.
when we come to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, nothing really surprises you, but that's kind of I've not heard that story before, where basically Amazon loses the stock and then sells it on, and then a year later this stock appears. That's an interesting one. So.
Yeah. It just goes to show that they don't care about sellers. They don't have to, because Amazon is good enough that we all want to be there. Because
I wouldn't say they don't care about sellers, but I do think they put customers above sellers by a country.
Oh, absolutely. But one thing I think they forget is that we're customers too, because they take a cut out of us, and we're giving them money every day, so we are customers.
Excellent, valid point. Cool. Yeah. If someone wants, I know you don't do consultancy and stuff like that, but if someone wants to reach out for get in contact, get some advice.
Look for me on Facebook. My name's Ben Leonard. I'm in most of the groups in the UK and some of the American ones too. Drop me a message, or we'll have a chat.
Excellent. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us. Ben, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.